and I'm very glad that you can be here for the first time that Sarah Wilson is speaking out after concluding her battle for justice, the brave Rotherham survivor. She'll be speaking to GB News just a couple of days after she secured her final conviction of her many abusers in the South Yorkshire town. Yesterday, a man called Riyasth Hussain was sentenced to 20 years behind bars. Sarah secured well over 120 years of jail time for those abusers. We'll be speaking to her about how she's feeling having completed that journey and her message to other survivors around the country.
Of course, this is part of Operation Stovewood, wasn't it, Charlie, which is where the police have looked into all the historic cases in Rotherham. The extent of the criminality is just extraordinary. The number of connected crimes, the number of people who covered it up. I wonder if we'll ever get to the bottom of all of it.
Yeah, that's being led by the National Crime Agency. That was their 50th conviction this week since they launched that operation in 2015. And let's move on now, because the 50th person to be convicted under the National Crime Agency's largest ever sexual abuse investigation was jailed yesterday for 20 years for raping a child and a young woman in the 2000s.
Well, the crimes of Riyasth Hussain were identified by specialist officers from Operation Stovewood, uncovering child sexual abuse in Rotherham between 1997 and 2013.
Now, we're joined now by the Rotherham abuse survivor, Sarah Wilson, who has bravely waived her right to anonymity, was involved in this most recent trial. And also, Sarah, you have been involved in 3 trials in Rotherham in connection to this abuse. You're enormously brave, choosing to speak out today. How does it feel to have completed that justice journey?
You know, I've never had freedom. All my life's just been controlled by perpetrators, investigations, and also my sister's murder. So yesterday when I got that conviction and that sentence, it was just a sense of relief. That it's one thing's over, that journey's over, and I've finally got the justice that I rightfully deserve.
So we'll talk about your sister Laura in a moment, but firstly, I've had the honour of watching you in a courtroom delivering a victim impact statement, speaking straight to the men who you took to court and ensured that they were sent down and imprisoned. You did the same yesterday, I believe, in Sheffield Crown Court. How did that feel, and what did you say to Hussain?
You know, from the beginning, I've always said that I will always face my abusers down face to face in the end. And yesterday, I looked him dead in the eye and he still had that evil look. And I told him, like, you took my childhood, now I'm taking your freedom, I am your karma. And those words just resonate so much, because this man is one dangerous, evil man, and I'm happy I got to take him down last.
Now, Sarah, I was reading some of your story that was published in the press a decade ago this morning, and just utterly heartbreaking. I think your abuse started when you were just 11 years old, and even some of the people who are supposed to be caring for you knew about it and did nothing. Do you think those attitudes still persist in children's care services, or have they wised up to some of this abuse?
Absolutely still exist. If anything, it's a lot worse now than what it were back in the early 2000s. And I don't see any fresh convictions, no grooming cases that are happening right now in court. And I think that's the saddest thing, because it's still very much going on. And without stamping it out and bringing these people to justice, we're never going to fix the issue. It's always going to be a massive issue and a massive cover-up. And I just have no faith in South Yorkshire Police or other police forces to bring these men that are still grooming children to justice.
We do have faith in the National Crime Agency, I believe, because of course they took on your case and moved it forward. Sarah, let's talk about your sister Laura as well, because one of the things you're looking forward to doing now, having completed this decades-long fight for justice and getting these men behind bars, is you want to speak more about what happened to you and your family in Rotherham.
Yes, that's correct. So Laura was murdered in 2010, and they class it as Britain's first white honour killing. When she was murdered, a lot of misinformation and lies was printed in the press, and a lot of that information was actually my life. And now I've got these convictions. I can prove that this information was actually incorrect or fabricated, to make it look like she had been groomed when she hadn't.
Yeah, and that was part of a serious case review that was conducted. At the time, the authorities in Rotherham tried to block that from being published. It went all the way to the Department for Education. Michael Gove at the time, he told GB News last year that he intervened to ensure it could be published. But you want to set the record straight from what happened later. So we'll be looking forward to hearing more about that in the coming days and weeks. But Sarah, I just want to ask you, what is your message to other survivors who are seeking confidence to come forward and do what you have done to achieve the justice that you've had? What's your message to them? Can they have confidence that the system will fight for them as it has for you?
I think, you've got to find the right person to come forward to, because that first step is the biggest step that you're ever going to make. And, patience as well is key. I started my investigations 11 years ago. And, it's okay to be angry, but be angry with the right people and let go on the right people rather than, mental health is a massive struggle in these cases. And I've got my contact officer who I could just let off, if I've seen something and I'm like, this is not right. And, I had someone to turn to. And the NCA have been absolutely amazing. I honestly think every survivor is absolutely amazing. And that first step is the biggest step. And they should be very, very proud of them. But patience is key, because especially with historic, it's evidence, it's being able to get it into court, get it through CPS, and it is a hard thing to do, but it's worth it.
Well, Sarah, you've been unbelievably brave, and we wish you all the best in your continued fight for justice. And thank you for all that you've done for all the other victims in bringing this to light, because no doubt it will have given a lot of people confidence to come forward.
I've only just started.
Good.
Now I'm coming.
Thank you, Sarah.
Yes.
Great to speak to you, my friend. Speak soon. Thank you so much for joining us this morning
on
GB News. Thanks, Sarah.
God.
Now, I should say, if you've been affected by any of the issues raised in this story, support is available at the nspcc.org.uk and, of course, the Samaritans. I just want to reflect on what we've just heard from Sarah. Extraordinary. I'm glad that she referenced her contact officer at the NCA as well. I've met him at a couple of trials involved, and I've had the honour of seeing Sarah Wilson deliver that impact statement to perpetrators before. The first time I saw her do it, the men were just looking at the floor, avoiding eye contact with her, but they could not shut their ears and avoid the justice that was coming their way.
And in her extensive interview that she did with The Telegraph a decade ago, which I was reading this morning, she obviously talks about her anger against the perpetrators, of course, but also her anger against the authorities, particularly people caring for her in a children's home where she was for some time, who knew that she was going out with these men, that she was being picked up by them, returned by them, and just turned a blind eye as if it was her kind of lifestyle choice. Just extraordinary. She was saying how angry she is with those people. From what she was saying, she doesn't think that a lot has changed since then.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Sarah Wilson, we salute you. Thank you for speaking to us today.